This is a Surface 604 Colt. I've seen other bikes from this brand in the past. They're like fat tire bikes, and I think the name references like the 604 area code of Vancouver, Canada, where there's varied terrain. You've got kind of like the coastline, the mountains, the city, and they try to build products to fit in any of those environments. This one isn't quite as rugged. You know, it's not a fat bike, but it does have a slightly larger tires, which is kind of neat. So these are 26 by 2.1. And 2.1 is sort of the thickness, the diameter here. Gives you a little bit more cushion, along with this awesome suspension fork, SR Suntour. And unlike some of the other forks, I think this one has 80 millimeters of travel. It's not quite so, you know, thin, and it's got lockout, preload adjust. It's a step up. You know, it's not a downhill mountain biking like extreme one, but it does have quick release. It's got that 11 millimeter skewer, so you can take the wheel off and lighten the load a little bit. And then over here, the battery pack, also locking, removable. I like to call that out because these bikes tend to be pretty heavy once you get fenders on them, lights on them, an integrated rack. It's not the kind of bike that, you know, you're actually taking down mountain passes and stuff like that. You probably leave it in your garage and commute with it, or just go around the neighborhood and enjoy yourself. Maybe though, you know, if you're someone who's in a city and you're looking to experience that, maybe do like a rental or go with some friends, this could be a pretty awesome model for that because it is so versatile and it comes in a couple different sizes. This is the 19-inch frame, but they also have 17.5. That's just a little bit lower, you know, maximum seat, as well as the standover height being a little bit just easier to approach. So I really appreciate that. It's nice to see bikes in a couple different sizes. They also come in a couple different colors. This is kind of the gray with taupe, and they have a white with taupe. I mentioned the rack earlier. It's not the kind that you can remove, that's bolt-on, but this is very sturdy and it's more integrated this way. But they didn't stop with just the main tubing, which is a little bit thicker. You see this? It's fatter. Not a lot of the click-on panniers would work with this. So what they did, they added another little bar below it and a bungee grabber point here. So you could put a bunch of different kinds of panniers on this, whether it's one that uses Velcro and it's a saddlebag, or it hangs over both sides, or it's the clip-on. And I love that. That's very thoughtful. That's the attention to detail that these guys have put in on their fat bikes, and that I can see also on this, more of like an urban, potentially like a commuting platform. And I really appreciate the price, okay? You know, this bike is $18.99. Comes with a 3-year frame warranty, 1 year, like everything else, kind of warranty with the motor and the battery and all that. Samsung cells on the battery pack. Just, it's nice to see that kind of price point for something that's really capable. And some of the other finer touch points are like the Selle Royale Freeway gel saddle. We've got the adjustable stem here. You just slide this down and it angles up and down, and the handlebars sort of swivel. Ergonomic grips. They aren't locking, but they feel pretty good. And, you know, it's like, well, you know, they're not going down mountain passes with this probably. But you do have upgraded Tektro Auriga 160 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes. So that's great because the weight on this is a little bit higher, 57.5 pounds. That's a little bit above average. And again, it's the rack, and this is the larger frame that I'm looking at right here. 500 watt internally geared Bafang hub motor with peak output of 750, and they're saying 65 newton meters of torque. It's good. Like, I'm definitely feeling a little bit more zip on this than I have on some of the other hub motor style electric bikes in the past, especially given that it's not the lightest bike. Love that there's 13 gauge spokes back here, 14 on the front, so, you know, extra thick is what I'm saying. A little bit sturdier because you've got the power of the motor and potentially some weight on that rack back there. It also got a nice little chain cover with reflective like tape, I guess, integrated. So from the side, you're going to increase that visual footprint. And then in the front and back, you've got Spinninga integrated LED lights. Gotta love that. Like, especially if you're actually taking this out in the city, coming back to the Surface 604, any environment type of thing. You've got the fenders. Yes, they're only plastic, but they've got some nice support struts. They've been working pretty well for us. Yeah, a lot to appreciate. You can see that the cables are all integrated through that down tube. And then right down here are bottle cage bosses. Normally I would see them like right here, but then that can kind of compromise how low the seat post can go. And, you know, the battery is a little bit taller, so there isn't really room right there. So, you know, you could fit a cage right there and put a bottle. It's not going to be as easy to reach, but It sounds like it's going to be clear of even the suspension arm, and you know, I've seen that on a couple bikes in the past. It's just neat that they went that route here. So I was saying before, this is Samsung battery pack, 48 volts. I think it's 10.4 amp hours, definitely above average, a little bit more powerful to give you energy to climb with that motor or go further if you're in a lower level of assist. I love that there is a kickstand and that it's far back so it doesn't collide with the pedals. If you walk the bike backwards, it's clear. It's also adjustable length so you can set it up and make sure the bike doesn't tip over. 30.4 millimeter seat post, so a little bit thicker. The standard size I see a lot is 27.2, and having a thicker post means that you can support more weight and stuff. I keep coming back to like just rentals. I think this would make a pretty good a rental bike because it just seems tough, but it's approachable and it's got all the extras that keep you safe, and the adjustability, quick release right here, easy tool-free adjustable stem. That's the kind of stuff I really appreciate on this type of platform, especially. SRAM X5 derailleur down here, 10 speeds. That's nice because a lot of times you see bikes that are kind of set up like this, kind of a cruiser city bike, and they only have 7 or 8 speeds. So 10 is nice. The SRAM X5 triggers up here, pretty easy to use, more of an upgraded part there. And then on the left, we have trigger throttle and our button pad. Relatively easy to reach, easy to understand, and I love that you actually have a trigger throttle because sometimes you want the extra juice, you know, and you don't get it. And in this case, it's especially useful because it uses a TMM4 torque sensor to activate the motor in pedal assist mode. A lot of times down here you have a cadence sensing disc and it's more like on, off. And for people who might not have the same balance or might be new to electric bikes, it's sort of, it can be uncomfortable, like, whoa, what's going on here? The bike's taking off on me, you know? With this one, you have to push, you have to activate that by pedaling, and it's more fluid. It's not as like startling potentially, but then it's more work and you're like, oh, I'm tired of pushing. Like I got my workout, I just want to go. Well, you got your trigger throttle. So it's a really excellent balance. Again, the price point is there, the colors, the different sizes. I'm really impressed with this, and just some of the other parts. Like, look down here. This is like another kind of mountain biking part, sort of like the suspension forks, a little bit upgraded. This is a sealed bottom bracket, and we've got that hollow spindle. Just, they didn't really need to do that for a bike like this, but they were able to, and they were able to keep the price a little bit lower, and I think that'll last longer. I also want to call out that there is a USB charging port on the battery pack, and it's up high right here, close to the kind of the stem. So you could plug in, put your phone up here or an MP3 player or something, maybe some additional lights if you wanted, and that would pretty much stay out of the way of where your legs are. Yeah, it could still get snagged a little bit and stuff, but I think they put it as high as they could. Maybe in the future it could be on top, but then when you do that, plugging it in is hard. So this is a pretty good compromise. A complaint that I do have is the charging port on the battery pack is way down here. You know, it's kind of close to that pedal, that crank arm. You don't want to have the cable there and then snag it. Same thing with, we were talking about the kickstand, walking it backwards. You just don't want to get that in harm's way. You can always take the battery pack off and charge it separately, which is a way to go. And this little rubber thing, it's like it doesn't stay in very well. You try, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get in there. It just doesn't want to stay put. I've seen this battery pack on other bikes like the Juiced Cross Current, and in that case too, it's just like, the guys over in the factories should just practice with this and be like, hey, we should change the design because it doesn't work. That's the lever. If you wanted to take this off, there's the locking core, and then this little button shows you your battery level on and kind of the capacity. So whether this was on the bike or not, you could still use the USB, you could still see how full it is. And I like that. I don't think you have to press that to turn the display on. You just press the power button up here for a couple seconds. The display comes to life. It's a pretty good display too, you know, it swivels. It's not removable, but you know, it's relatively large. It kind of covers that stem. It looks good. And it gives you lots of readouts. So there's 10 increments on the battery. You got your speed over here, your trip distance, and then your 5 levels of pedal assist, including like off. So now it's off, and the throttle isn't gonna work at all. But as soon as I go up to level 1, you can see that it's given me a little bit of power. I'm gonna arrow up to level 5 and try it again. Lots of power. Okay, so, you know, the power you get out is dependent on the level of pedal assist, and I'm mixed on that. It keeps you from getting out of control, but it also means that if you're trying to be efficient with the bike and you're using a lower level of pedal assist, like 2 or 3, to conserve your battery, and you just want to really quickly dash in front of someone or climb a hill, you almost have to come back to that button pad, arrow up to get your full power. So keep that in mind. Here's the lights button. If I press that, again, maybe I gotta hold it for a second, it shows on the display, which is backlit. And then we've got that Kendo by Spinninga up front, real nice. And then the Spinninga rear light. It's cool to see those working. It's, kind of the afternoon, so you're not seeing them super bright, but they do a good job. And if you press the I, you get other readouts. So total distance, max speed, average speed. I got all those stats, including measurements and some more weight and stuff back at the site. So I'm gonna stop talking and hop on this thing and see how it performs. Super fast, super responsive. This is in kilometers per hour right now, but we're up to like 30 kilometers per hour pretty quickly. I am in level 5, so that's what you'd want. And then here's the throttle. Pretty stable. I mean, I appreciate the sort of upright, swept back bars, but other people could angle it down and get more aggressive if they wanted. To me, this is kind of like a city bike, but also park cruiser, just because of how adjustable it is and because you've got those larger tires. Maybe not quite balloon size, but certainly bigger than average. So now I'm gonna pedal just super gently. Even though I'm in the highest level of pedal assist, the bike's not going crazy because I'm being really gentle. That's that TMM4 torque sensor. But now watch when I pedal a little harder. Very cool, very cool. I think this is one of the better integrations with the TMM4 sensor I've tried. Easy Motion has used this, some of the other bikes use it, and I've been kind of mixed, but I love the throttle override. I love the price point on this. Yeah, it's a winner for sure. It's one of my favorite bikes so far this year. I'm gonna arrow down to level 1 and do the throttle. Pretty quiet, calm. I'm going about 15.5 kilometers per hour right now, so that's full speed, and it's because I'm limited with the assist level. It's nice. I feel like I have a lot of control. Yeah, that's great. That's the Colt from Surface 604 for the full write-up on this and some of their other bikes, including a step-through that's very similar, but maybe a little bit more approachable. That's it right there. I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, especially when you're out there, if you're riding at night with the lights and stuff, just be safe. So I'm back in the press tent at Interbike with Sam, and you're the VP of Business Development? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, yeah, you have a lot of passion, and we were just talking more about the bike. I didn't want to miss out on any of the details, and I thought it'd be a cool chance to show the light. So it is correct. You don't have to turn the battery on anymore. You can just go up here, hold the power button. There's that backlit display because we have the light on. And you can see the light, the front light. It's doing pretty well. We got the spot going on.
We got the rear lights on.
Rear light, and from the sides you can see it pretty well. Yep. It's a nice setup, and you don't have to do that. The brightness here on the background, now it's dark and the lights are off, so it's not like something that's going to be annoying. If you hold plus and minus, does that get us into like the menus, or if we want to clear?
You get into menu, you just double tap the I button, you get into the menu right away, and then you can go ahead and select a few things. You want to reset your data, you want to change your from miles to kilometers an hour, from kilometers, and so on.
Yeah.
There's features you can set up to automatic shut off the bike.
That was the other thing I was going to ask. It's like it just shuts off after a while to serve the battery.
If you forgot to shut it off, you can just park it. In 5 minutes, it comes from factory, and within 5 minutes, the battery just shuts itself off when the bike is not moving.
Cool. Yeah. There's all these details. It's nice to get some questions answered. The other interpretation that I had made was that, this is a wider seat post because it's for heavier riders. Potentially, it's a little more robust. And you said, and
as a mountain biker myself,
yeah,
I appreciate dropper seats.
Yes.
So what we've done here, we've made this diameter 30.4, which is standard between mountain bikers, so you can drop a dropper seat. So now you have a rear suspension as well.
That's sweet. So people who you've got thudbuster, body float, and suspension seat post for comfort, and this is kind of a hardtail design, so that could be a nice little extra. Or the dropper, it's just a neat feature. So there's really a lot of thought, between the hollow spindle there, the extra gears, and we were saying, like, yes, this is a heavier bike. I think it was like 57.5 pounds when we were weighing it. It's heavier, but the battery is like 7.6 pounds. So if you took that off, you took the quick release front wheel, you can lighten it up for transport. But what if you run out of battery? I mean, first of all, you've got a 10 increment display here, so it's easier to tell how low it's getting. You're not going to just be surprised when like one of your 4 bars disappears. You're like, oh my gosh, I just lost a quarter of my battery. You have a much finer increment. But if it completely dies, or just for whatever the case may be, being able to switch down to an easier pedaling gear is going to make this, it's going to be workable. You're going to be able to move the weight.
And I think it is important that e-bikes, you get out, you ride 50 miles, your battery dies, you got to make it back home, and having a proper gear ratio in the back here is very important, so you're able to actually climb hills with it. So you drop it down to the lowest gear, and now you can actually pedal it up the hills without e-assist.
That's awesome.
That's why we took our time and incorporated the SRAM 1x10 drivetrain system with 1136 cassette in the back. So you drop it, like I said, it's got lots of gears.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was calling it overkill, but I think, again, we were able to do this at a pretty reasonable price. I'm impressed.
We're trying to keep it at the value is the key here, is that you're getting a lot of things for $18.99 here with this bike. The value is the key word.
I agree. Well, thanks again. As a review, it's like I try to be independent and stuff, but it's neat to kind of geek out on some of these specs and stuff, and you're a great guy. It's fun to do. So